Good afternoon. It's a good day to stay indoors as Toronto's under both a heat warning and an air quality warning.
You can see it. A haze has descended on the city as the result of wildfire smoke from northern Ontario, with health experts urging people to stay inside if possible. CTV's John Musselman has been speaking to a whole bunch of people dealing with these hazy conditions. He joins us live now with more. How is the air, John?
Well, it's definitely a factor, Michelle. You can almost taste it in the air here. We're down on the waterfront near Sunnyside Pool. We'll just show you some video from this morning, and you can just look out over the water. It looks like haze, but also this effect from these forest fires in northern Ontario is certainly having an impact here, just as you look out over the water and over some of the buildings. Now, of course, the heat and humidity is a big issue for the next 2 or 3 days. People will be seeking relief from city pools and from many of the city civic centers that are going to have extended hours so people can stay cool and try to beat the heat. The problem is not just the temperature, it's also the humidity, which really takes a toll on people. But we did have a chance to talk to people today about what they're doing, also with Environment Canada about how long this will last. Here's a listen to those clips.
It's a little thick in the air today, so I'm taking it easy, and I've been taking it easy since the heat wave has started. So I get out earlier and I just go slow.
I also have asthma, so you notice it a bit more, but I also noticed a few days ago, like it felt there was something burnt in the air.
Yeah.
And it does, and it is hazy. So it's sort of labored breathing a bit, but I know that coming out. So for me, I'm okay, but for some people, they're probably not going to leave the house today.
I'm going to try to get in the lake and go for a little swim and just maybe do some indoor activities today as opposed to being outside all day.
Certainly a very hot day in store for the next few days. We're looking at temperatures in the low 30s over the next 3 days for Toronto. 31 today, 32 tomorrow, and 31 on Wednesday. And it's going to feel even hotter than that with the humidex and the humidity values. So we might see a little bit of relief on Thursday and then some improvement on Friday and into the weekend.
So it looks like the next 2 or 3 days we're really going to have to prepare ourselves for this heat and humidity. There are a lot of people now heading down to the beach here. They're out in the boats. We saw some people swimming as well. We'll have much more on the heat, the humidity, and what people can expect today on CTV News at 5 and 6. Sending back to you from the beach.
Thank you, John. Look forward to it. Mayor Olivia Chow, meantime, was helping residents beat the heat this morning, attending the first day of a new pilot program, which will see 500 air conditioning units installed for low-income seniors in the city.
We know that the last heat wave, number of people went to the hospital, and many deaths were recorded in the last 10, 20 years because of heat waves. So having air conditioning help, especially for the most vulnerable seniors. In the 2025 budget, we put aside money to install 500 air conditioning units. This is a pilot program.
The city says applicants were selected in a randomized draw. The program does not cover the cost of electricity.
We have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. We've already talked about it. You can see it. Air quality, a concern today, especially if you have any respiratory issues. Not the best day to be outdoors, especially if the activity is vigorous. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions, and you can just see the haze in the air.
And you can smell it too, Nathan, as we were talking about earlier as well. And Toronto having some of the worst air quality in the world at this hour. We are under an air quality warning. You can see just how widespread the special air quality statement is across northern Ontario, southern parts of our province, and into Quebec as well. We are at 10 plus on the air quality health index, so that's never a good thing. If you find yourself sensitive to the smoke, be it in your eyes, your nose, or your throat, a good day to make sure you're staying indoors. And if you needed another reason, it is currently 27 degrees, feeling like 32. It's going to feel like 40 at the height of the afternoon. So this heat warning still in effect. It's not going anywhere for a couple of days here. As far as any active weather is concerned, we don't have to worry about that today. We're also, however, not going to have any wet weather clear any of that haze. The radar doesn't do a great job of picking up any haze out there, but I can assure you the skies are smoky and will be through this afternoon. There's today at a glance. Will things improve into tomorrow? We'll talk about that and also when this stretch of heat is expected to come to an end. That's all ahead in your weather forecast. For now, Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Police are investigating a case of suspected arson in Scarborough.
At least 7 vehicles were damaged by fire at an auto body shop near Shepherd and McCowan. CTV's Janice Golding has been following the investigation. She joins us live now with the details. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, Toronto police are investigating an arson that took place here overnight at an auto body shop in the McCowan and Shepherd area. CTV News has obtained viewer video, or rather surveillance video, of the crime taking place, and we're going to show that to you right now. Now, the surveillance video shows 2 men walking through the back lot of Next Gear Auto just after 2 a.m. They can be seen wandering amongst the vehicles holding jerry cans, which they use to douse cars with gasoline. They spend nearly 10 minutes covering vehicles with fuel before they ignite the accelerant, which quickly catches flame. This video from a nearby apartment building shows just how intense the fire became, damaging 13 cars in total, according to the owner. Danny Urethiran says he was awakened by police at around 2:45, and when he arrived here at his shop, he couldn't believe what had happened, which he says he's operated for 15 years.
That is absolutely terrible. There is no word can describe that. So what I'm going through, what I'm feeling in my life, right?
How is this going to impact you financially?
This in financial impact is a ruin.
Ruin.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to be able to survive this?
I don't know. I'm a fighter, so I'm fighting. So it's always, you know, this COVID time. There's also this everything was down. So everyone put down, then it will come out. That is the mentality. But I grow up, so I don't know. So we'll see.
Danny says his lot holds 50 vehicles, so he's grateful more cars were not damaged. However, he says all morning he's been fielding calls from owners panicked about their vehicles. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. Hamilton police have identified the suspect in a deadly shooting on Friday as a 17-year-old boy. Police have obtained an order allowing them to identify Mikhail Lavoie, despite the fact he's a youth. He's charged with 1 count of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. He's accused of opening fire after encountering a group of 3 people near King and James Street just before 5:30 p.m. on Friday. A man who's believed to be one of the targets suffered non-life-threatening injuries, while a woman who police say was an innocent bystander was killed. The victim has been identified as 26-year-old Belinda Sarkodie. Police say she moved to Canada from Ghana a year ago and was living and working in Hamilton. She was walking home Friday afternoon after spending time with her friend downtown when she was killed.
And a 33-year-old woman was injured after she was shot in North York last night. This happened around 9 p.m. in the area of Driftwood Avenue and Grand Ravine Drive. The victim was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. So far, police have not provided details about possible suspects. They are asking anyone who might have information to come forward.
A new report found obesity rates in Canada increased faster during the COVID-19 pandemic than over the previous decade. The research was published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal. It looked at obesity rates over a 15-year period based on the body mass index of 750,000 people who were 18 or older. Researchers saw an increase of 8% between 2009 and 2020, compared to an increase of more than a percentage point each year between 2020 and 2023. For a closer look at the report, we're joined live by CTV's Scott Hurst. Scott, what else is the study telling us?
Nathan, good afternoon. That increase in obesity rates through the COVID-19 pandemic years is incredibly concerning, because we've seen obesity rates in adults in Canada rise substantially over the past 30 years. And this new research that's been posted in the Canadian Medical Association Journal pegs the number of obese Canadians at 10.6 million people. It's a serious concern, not just for our own personal health, of course, but the increasing cost and strain to the healthcare system. That's pegged at, upwards of $9 billion in 2021. This research focused on the impact on our health and trends in obesity rates before the COVID-19 pandemic and then through the COVID-19 pandemic. It found an increase in obesity rates defined by body mass index rose over the 15 years of the study more than 8%, from just shy of 25% in 2009, nearly a quarter of all Canadians, to nearly 33%, as you see the numbers right there in 2023, with that notable sharper increase, the rate nearly doubling during the pandemic timeframe. And so that is incredibly concerning because we've seen these rates rise substantially over a 3-decade time frame and then really ramp up over the last couple of years during the COVID-19 pandemic, Nathan.
And with all this information, Scott, what changes are being called for?
Medical health professionals are ultimately saying more interventions are need to be made available. While this research mostly focused on the numbers and it didn't dive into specific reasons for the sharp increase, the pandemic, of course, was a huge upheaval in all of our lives. Isolations and lockdowns, public health restrictions, we all remember those, closures of gyms, and many, of course, lost their jobs. So the physical and emotional toll we put on our bodies was incredibly severe, with, of course, adverse changes to physical activity, stress, and mental health, all likely playing a factor. Here's what one researcher in obesity medicine had to say in terms of where we go from here.
The thing that we know about this is once weight goes up and it is elevated, it's difficult to keep the weight off. We don't have great research in terms of why people have elevated weight, but we have a lot better research on why people can't decrease the rate and keep it off over the longer term. So once you reach that level and you stay there for a while, getting it down is much, much harder. And so we know that the interventions that are available now, we have more interventions available today than we did 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
So, Nathan, when it comes to tackling this troubling trend and trying to slow it down and potentially even reverse it, medical health professionals point to ensuring there are policies created to treat and manage obesity, as well as the risk factors associated with it, including type 2 diabetes and heart disease. And this includes, of course, more research, more funding, and also more public health campaigns so people are aware of the risks that they're putting on their body, the risks to the healthcare system when it comes to these troubling increases in obesity rates in Canada, Nathan.
All right, CTV's Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Police are searching for multiple suspects following a robbery at Woodbine Shopping Centre. Officers responded to reports of a robbery at a cell phone store in the mall just before 6:15 last night. They say suspects stole a number of items before leaving in a vehicle. No injuries reported here. Police are searching for 4 male suspects in connection with the incident, but have not provided descriptions at this point.
A note for transit riders, there's an early nightly closure on the TTC's Line 1 this week. The TTC says service will end at 11 p.m. between St. Clair West and St. Andrew stations because of planned track work and station upgrades. The early closure will begin this evening and last through Friday. Shuttle buses will run in place of trains until the end of service each night. DuPont, Museum, Queen's Park, St. Patrick, and Osgood stations will be closed, but all other stations will be open.
A new poll finds a majority of Toronto residents support protected bike lanes. The Eco's poll, commissioned by Cycle Toronto, found nearly 80% of people think the city needs to do more to protect vulnerable road users, including cyclists, pedestrians, seniors, and children. 21% of respondents say they have ridden a bike at least once in recent months, with 18% say they usually use a bike or e-bike to commute.
A new poll suggests Mayor Olivia Chow would be easily re-elected if a vote were held today, unless a former mayor decided to enter the race.
If John Tory doesn't run, we see 1 out of 5 people who say they would vote for him saying they would vote for Olivia Chow. So there's a lot of overlap between the two, even though maybe you wouldn't think that there would be.
The Liaison Strategies poll says Chow holds a 30-point lead over other potential candidates. However, if John Tory were to enter the race, that lead shrinks to just 4%. Tory has not indicated if he's planning to run again. He resigned as mayor after admitting to having a relationship with a staff member. Meanwhile, Chow commented on the poll today.
Gosh, this is, what, second week of July? You're talking about a year and 20, yeah, I know. My focus, especially right now, is the people that are going to be hot, and there's so much work that needs to be done in so many areas, and I am not at all thinking about elections, re-elections. I'm thinking, trying to find more money to buy more of these air-conditioned units. There's a lot of challenges.
The city's next mayoral election will be held in October of 2026.
Still to come, Prime Minister Mark Carney is set to meet with his cabinet tomorrow amid ongoing trade negotiations with the U.S. We'll have the latest on the talks a little later in the newscast. But first, as we mentioned earlier, the wildfire smoke has settled over our city as wildfires burn in northern Ontario and across the country.
Those wildfires in the province's north have prompted evacuation orders in several First Nations communities. A wildfire near Pingangacum First Nation has grown to more than 300 square kilometers and remains out of control. Currently, there are about 60 active wildfires in northwestern Ontario, with a quarter considered out of control.
Meanwhile, the wildfire is also threatening the Garden Hill First Nation in northern Manitoba. Armed forces have flown more than 1,500 people to Winnipeg. A plane remains on standby in case more people want to leave, as the First Nation cannot be reached by road. The community of Snow Lake and the city of Thompson are also under evacuation orders. Last week, Manitoba declared its second state of emergency this year due to the wildfires.
We have 40 firefighting personnel actioning the fire, and with that, we also have structure protection crews and a structure protection specialist, as well as aerial resources.
And there's an evacuation order in place near Princeton, British Columbia, because of an out-of-control wildfire. The fire forced a local golf club to close. Officials say it's unclear how many properties are threatened here, but they say no homes are currently at risk. New polling shows more Canadians are backing the federal Liberals amid the ongoing trade war with the U.S.
CTV's Jeremy Sharon takes a look at the latest numbers.
In the dead of summer in the nation's capital, politics for some are still firmly on the radar.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fairly regular.
Yeah,
it's not seasonal.
It's not taking a pause this year at all.
I think Mark Carney is doing a great job to fight for Canadians.
Generally happy. We'll see him the next week.
According to new data from NANO's research, when it comes to public sentiment, Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberals are pulling away from Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives.
If you're a Liberal, you're looking at these numbers and there might be a little pep in your step.
NANO's weekly ballot tracking shows a double-digit gap. Just over 45% of Canadians favor the Liberal Party, while a little under 33% would vote Conservative. And for preferred Prime Minister, Carney is polling more than twice as well as Poilievre.
All of the opposition parties are in complete disarray. So you might look at the numbers and think the Liberals are really strong, but the reality is that the opposition parties are weak.
But through the summer, Carney's government will be focused on Donald Trump's trade war. And Canadians are keen to keep hitting back however they can.
We were supposed to go to New York with our in-laws in April for Easter, and we decided not to go.
We've canceled sort of what we can, and I know it's a drop in the bucket to them, but if 41 million people are doing a little bit, that will start to send a message.
NANO's data shows most believe the boycotts are temporary. 47% said they expect them to end after Trump's time in office. 28% said before, and 16% think they're permanent.
It's more against Trump, yeah. I think if he goes, things will be better.
Now, Trump's trade war also has a direct impact on those polling numbers. Whether or not Carney can land a trade deal with the U.S. is directly related to how Canadians feel about his government.
Jeremy Sharon, CTV News, Ottawa.
Let's delve more into that topic. Prime Minister Mark Carney will meet with his cabinet tomorrow to discuss the latest tariff threats from the U.S. The Prime Minister's office says Carney will speak with his inner circle about the ongoing negotiations. On Thursday, U.S. President Donald Trump sent a letter to Carney warning he will impose a 35% tariff on Canadian imports starting August 1st. The Prime Minister says Ottawa is working to secure a deal by that date. As the federal government continues its trade talks with our friends below the border, it's also looking to grow relationships with other international partners. CTV's Colton Prale joins us live now from Ottawa with more on those discussions. Colton, we've heard from some ministers talking about trade with the EU and the Indo-Pacific. Tell us more.
Yeah, we have Michelle. Anita Anand, the Foreign Affairs Minister, just coming back from a trip to ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, that taking place in Malaysia. And while she was there, she talked about putting in place another free trade deal with ASEAN nations. Of course, included in that would be India, the world's 5th largest economy, the fastest growing economy. That entire region is the 4th largest economy in the world. There's increased pressure, as we have heard from the Prime Minister and from ministers across Mr. Carney's cabinet, to diversify Canadian trade, diversify our exports. And the latest numbers from Stats Canada do back that up. There has been record highs when it comes to exports going to countries other than the United States. A 5% increase in the month of May, a record high of just about $20 billion in merchandise goods going to non-American countries. But that has to be caveated with the fact that even as exports fall to the U.S., they're still twice as high, $41 billion in the month of May, and really the average is around $50 billion. Part of the reason we're seeing it falling isn't just because of these tariffs, it's also because businesses stocked up early. The month of January, we did almost $60 billion worth of exports to the U.S. as businesses on both sides of the border tried to do as much as they can to avert the impacts of these tariffs and oversupply early before they were in place. So while Canada is improving, and they are working hard to create new supply chains, new partnerships, find new free trade agreements, there is still a long way to go to close that gulf of $20 to sometimes $30 billion between our trade with the rest of the world and our trade with the United States.
That really puts it in perspective. And when we're talking about India, a country where there are diplomatic tensions, can Canada improve trade with them?
This is the big question, right? When dealing with all of these countries, but certainly when dealing with India, there is a challenge. There is a diplomatic challenge as well, given the ongoing RCMP investigation into the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now, we've already seen a very different shift from the Carney government than from the Trudeau government. Narendra Modi was at the G7. The two leaders sat down, had a face-to-face meeting. Both of them came away very pleased with the outcome of that meeting. We've seen a commitment to reestablishing full diplomatic missions in both countries. That means the reestablishment of a High Commissioner for Canada in India and a High Commissioner for India in Canada. Those were both pulled as a result of this ongoing investigation and the dispute between the two countries. It's important to note that while in Malaysia, Minister Anand did talk about those efforts, commented on the timeline, said it's a steady timeline, but not an immediate timeline, meaning we are still waiting for those sort of diplomatic progressions to take place, but they will eventually take place. None of this will inhibit trade with India, but it will potentially slow down the ability to create a free trade agreement with India, something that could be beneficial for improving trade with the country over the long term. It's going to be a challenge for Mr. Carney to sell this at home and not have it come across as though he's just doing it for the money. But in large part, like I mentioned, this is the fastest growing economy in the world for Western and Prairie provinces. Their pulses, that's the biggest market in the world. When it comes to our energy, there's a desire to send liquid natural gas to India to replace coal, and we're seeing those first LNG shipments off the West Coast leave the country earlier this month. You know, there are a lot of opportunities here, and so while it might be difficult for the Prime Minister to make this appear as though it's not just about the money, it largely is just about the money, and there's always going to be a trade-off how he sells that to Canadians. That's going to be the challenge for the Liberals and for Mr. Carney.
Certainly not an easy gig running a country. CTV's Colton Prale live for us in Ottawa. Thank you.
Anytime.
European trade ministers are also discussing strategy today in response to the latest U.S. tariff threats.
I guess it's right to say that our trade relations with the U.S. is on a critical juncture. It is important that we stand united.
Over the weekend, U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to hit both the European Union and Mexico with 30% tariffs. Similar to the threat against Canada, those levies would come into effect August 1st. Retaliatory tariffs from the EU were supposed to take effect today, but have now been pushed back to August 1st to allow for trade discussions.
4 Quebec men accused of plotting to form an anti-government militia and seize land are due in court today. 2 of the suspects, Marc-Aurel Chabot and Matthew Forbes, were serving in the Army at CFB Valcartier. Chabot enrolled in the Army as a reservist in June of 2019, while Forbes had joined in October of 2016. The Armed Forces says neither man performed military duties. The other suspects are Simon Anger-Odette and Raphaël Lagacé. Anger-Odette was enrolled as a reservist in 2019 and released in May of 2022 as a private. certificate. He was never deployed. Lagacé has not served as an armed forces member, but was a civilian instructor with an air cadet squadron.
The U.S. and NATO announced an agreement today to rearm Ukraine with missiles and other weapons. The United States will manufacture the arms, and the alliance will pay for them.
We make the best equipment, the best missiles, the best of everything. The European nations know that. And we've made a deal today, and I'm going to have Mark speak about it, but we've made a deal today where we are going to be sending them weapons and they're going to be paying for them. The United States will not be having any payment made. We're not buying it, but we will manufacture it and they're going to be paying for it.
What we will do is work through the NATO systems to make sure that we know what the Ukrainians need, so that we can make packages. Of course, in a way, we discussed it this morning with Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon, in a way that, of course, the US will keep on its stockpiles necessary to defend this country. That's absolutely clear. But it will mean that Ukraine can get its hands on really massive numbers of military equipment, both for air defense, but also missiles, ammunition, etc., etc.
During an Oval Office visit this morning, the head of NATO said Canada and a number of other alliance countries all want to be part of the deal. It calls for the U.S. supplying weapons that will be paid for by NATO countries. Trump says the equipment, including a Patriot missile system, will be arriving very soon. The U.S. president has increasingly expressed frustration over a lack of progress with Russian President Vladimir Putin on American-led peace efforts. The White House says 100% tariffs will be imposed on Moscow if there isn't a deal to end the war within 50 days.
Well, with air quality so poor around southern Ontario today, not only is it a good one to spend some time indoors, but you might also want to keep the windows closed and your doors closed as well. Here's what else you can do during this special air quality statement, or in the case of Toronto, a warning. Make sure you're staying hydrated. That goes for the heat and humidity as well. Now, we are starting to tap into a bit of a southerly flow with the wind. You'll notice that it's not all that strong, but it could help push some of this haze away from us. So perhaps an improvement later this afternoon and into the evening. Tomorrow, we do anticipate that there will still be some smoke and haze, hopefully not as bad as it is today. Coming up, we'll take you through the 7-day forecast and give you an idea of when we get some relief from the humidity. That's after this break here on CTV News.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, we are into another hot summer week, and to go along with it, we have some warnings because of the haze, because of the heat. There's a lot to contend with.
Yeah, you definitely, with those aerial shots, you can see it. Some people say that they can actually smell it. And it's no question, it is a concern today.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Last night, I could smell what I thought was a campfire. Turns out it was just the smoke from northern Ontario, in some cases western Canada. And it is. It's a 1-2 punch today because we've got that heat and humidity, which we've now been dealing with for several days and will continue to deal with for the next several here. Hopefully today is the worst of the air quality days, but I do think some smoke is going to linger a couple of days this week. So let's get to your forecast. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Of course, it isn't all bad news, I should say. Some are really enjoying the heat. You could call it the dog days of summer that we're in right now. And this is some really fun video of pets enjoying the warmth and finding ways to keep cool. Perhaps also a good opportunity to remind you to take care of your pets. Make sure that they're spending time indoors in the air conditioning just like you, or maybe have a cool place to go like a kiddie pool. And it hopefully goes without saying, never leave your pets or your kids unattended in a vehicle. It is way too hot for that today. Once again, it is going to feel like 40 at the height of the afternoon. There's the heat warning that remains in place. Here is the air quality statement, widespread. And then there's us in the GTA under an air quality warning air quality is especially poor around the city of Toronto right now. It's 28 degrees. It feels like 33. We're on our way to it feeling like 40 at the height of this afternoon. 31 degrees is our forecast daytime high. Similar conditions in Hamilton, in Peterborough. And then your evening, still very muggy, still quite hot temperature-wise. We're barely slipping below 30. That's at around 8 o'clock tonight. I do want to point out that our sunset time is now 3 minutes before 9 p.m. So those evenings are getting just a little bit shorter. Overnight tonight, still stuffy. 20 degrees is what the temperature is going to be. Warmer than normal. I usually like to say that 20 degrees or higher is about the threshold for it being very uncomfortable for sleeping. And then tomorrow, here we go again. Temperatures in the low 30s, maybe not quite as humid this time. For example, it might feel like 37 as opposed to feeling like 40. But once again, we do anticipate that there will be a little bit of smoke and haze. Right now, we are off the charts when it comes to our air quality health index at 10+, but tonight and tomorrow expected to be around a 6 or moderate, so that's a bit of an improvement. Cloud cover has pulled away from the GTA. We've got sunshine out there. You might not be able to see it all that well because of all that haze. It's a bit of a quiet, short-range forecast. Let me show you what the forecast radar looks like here. And I'm just going to pause it as we make our way into Wednesday, because this is when we see a slight increase in cloud and a few showers into the day on Thursday. The risk of thunderstorms. So here is the 7-day forecast. It's that day where the pattern starts to change a little bit, and then by Friday, relief from the heat, a seasonal high of 26 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. That's the weather for now. Nathan, I'll send it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. The Blue Jays are off for the All-Star break after wrapping up a series with the Athletics over the weekend.
That pitch is hit well. Left center field. Straw going back again. Pull it up. It's gone.
The A's hit 3 two-run home runs on their way to a 6-3 win over the Jays. Despite the loss, Toronto continues to lead the American League East 2 games ahead of the Yankees. The team will be back on the field Friday to begin a series with the San Francisco Giants.
The World Health Organization is recommending twice a year HIV prevention shots amid funding concerns. We'll have those details and more when we return. Well, if you're having trouble sticking to a workout routine, maybe it's not you. Maybe your personality isn't a good match for the exercise routine that you've chosen.
And for more on that, we're joined by CTV science and tech specialist Dan Riskin. So, Dan, new research shows that different personality traits could affect or influence the workout types, and ones could be better based on your personality.
Exactly. I mean, you know, we're all different. We like doing different things with our time, and yet when it comes to workouts, we feel like it should be, well, if everybody else is doing this spin thing, I should be doing the spin thing. How come I don't like the spin thing? Well, it turns out if you're not an extrovert, you're not going to like the spin thing. That plays well to the extrovert personality type. So for this study, they had a whole bunch of people fill out these personality questionnaires, and then they had one group that did a bunch of exercises that were chosen by the researchers, and another group that did no exercise. They compared them. And so, yeah, the extrovert thing, having a big workout with a lot of people is great if you're an extrovert, not if you're an introvert. But the other thing that came out a lot was neuroticism. So people that tend to be high stress and very anxious, for them, workouts are a little bit different. They don't do well if they're having their activity monitored. So having a watch that tells you what your heart rate is and how many steps you've taken, that might not work for some people who are high in the anxiety scale. Also, those people tend to like having a burst of workout with a nice break in between. So maybe not going full tilt for a whole hour or whatever it is. And so it's just interesting to sort of take a moment and say, okay, what is my personality? What kinds of things would work for me? And then to start from there. Because if the workouts aren't working for you, it just might not be a good match.
So you don't like working out. Yeah. What's the best thing? Walking, I guess.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I don't know if I can help you with that.
Oh, I love that. I've always thought, yeah, you got to have a routine that sort of works with you and what you like. You're more likely to do it, right?
Totally.
So you were talking about personality traits, and there's actually another study on how to be cool, and it makes you wonder who commissioned this thing.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
My 13-year-old self.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody remembers being 13 when being cool was the most important thing in the world, and then you guys are really cool, so you don't even have to think about it anymore.
Right.
But you can imagine a bunch of science nerds sitting around going, well, we can't be cool, so maybe we can investigate this scientifically. So what they did is they did a survey of people around the world, all different countries, from Mexico to Nigeria, like all over the place, US. And they asked people, imagine someone who is cool, and now fill out this personality trait questionnaire for them. Like, what are these personality traits? Now imagine someone who is not cool. fill it out for them. And where were the big differences? And one cool finding was it's universal around the world. People that are cool in one country are going to come off as cool in another country. The extrovert, they tend to be really good with groups. They tend to like doing new things, and they tend to be independent. They tend to think for themselves. And so those are the kinds of traits. They tend to be adventurous as well. And so if you want to seem cool, maybe lean into those parts of your personality.
All right, good idea. So first off, I can't believe you're 50 and you're announcing this.
Yeah, I'm 50.
Happy belated birthday. Now, most people, when they're 50, they have a big party maybe. Yeah. They might go away, go on a beach somewhere, but you decided to do research on bats in Mexico. How was that?
Yo, let me tell you.
Party on.
I love it. Well, my wife said to me, what do you want to be doing when you turn 50? And I said, well, I'd love to be seeing a bat I've never seen before. And so I went, I brought some videos that I shot with my phone. That's a nectar-feeding bat. Oh, just look at that bat. It feeds on the flowers. It drinks nectar out of the flowers on the top of cacti. But look at this bat. That's a California leaf-nosed bat. I have wanted to see one of those since 2002, and I'd never seen one, so this was my first one.
They almost look cute.
Why are they so cool to be held like that?
So cute? Well, I've had my rabies shots, and I know how to handle bats safely, and so I'm being very careful with it. We went into a couple of caves and mines. I didn't like it because there were too many snakes and scorpions and spiders, but look at that. Eh? Like just bats out the yin-yang. I was screaming with joy when I was in there. It's just like my happy place was all these bats flying at us. Saw 9 different species in total. Including this funnel-eared bat. Just a weird-looking, quirky thing. We saw this canyon bat. That's the smallest bat in North America. Just it weighs as much as the key to your house. But this is the kicker. This is a scorpion-eating bat. It's called a pallid bat. And we went and found a scorpion.
Yes.
Watch this. Look at that, eh? Eating a scorpion.
Did you get bit at all?
I didn't get bitten, no. And I didn't get stung by the scorpion. It was the perfect birthday.
Oh my
I'd be screaming with fear.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is my happy place. I mean, I love these things. I've seen pallid bats before. There I am just smiling away. I'm just so happy. There
You're not wearing a mask or something?
Well, I was wearing masks in the caves, and we were being very careful. And I am wearing gloves while I'm handling the bats. I mean, you got to take precautions, and I've got all my shots. I've got my rabies shots and all that stuff. But for me, it was like my happy place. And we were there helping out with a science experiment, so we were collecting data, and it was going towards...
So you being so calm, does that make it a little easier for the bats?
No,
they seem cool
I haven't done it in a panicked way to compare. I'd have to do an experiment where in one of them I scream like I'm Nathan Downer.
Right.
Ah,
I'd be screaming.
And then the other one I do.
Well, research shows that bats think you're cool.
Oh, there it is.
There's a study for you.
That's a study I can get behind. Thanks,
This is, we call him Batman around here.
Right on.
Dan Riskin, our science and tech specialist. Happy birthday. Happy 50th.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, to other news. The World Health Organization is recommending twice-a-year HIV prevention shots amid looming concerns over funding. The WHO says countries should use a newly approved drug called lenacapavir as a tool in their efforts to fight HIV infections. The organization says it should be used for groups most at risk and in areas where the burden of HIV remains high. The update comes about a month after the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the drug. Ozempic, originally designed to combat diabetes, has become a famous weight loss drug, but the manufacturer's patent is set to expire in Canada in a few months.
CTV's Kamal Karamali reports that will open a window for other companies to make and sell generic versions of the drug in this country.
It's the weight loss drug that swept Hollywood. Ozempic and its sister drugs have more than 1 million users in Canada, according to Ozempic's sole manufacturer. The biggest barrier for many has been cost.
I believe it costs somewhere about $400 a month.
But now it's set to become more affordable and even more accessible by next year.
There's a certain time period in which the patent then expires, and other pharmaceutical companies can make like drugs.
Semaglutide, known under the brand names Ozempic and Wegovy, made and sold exclusively by global pharma giant Novo Nordisk. But the Canadian patent for those drugs is set to expire in January, opening semaglutide to other companies who can sell generic versions.
Cost will be down, and there will be more of the drug.
Multiple companies have so far applied to Health Canada for approval to make a generic semaglutide drug, including Hims and Hers. The American telehealth company says it'll offer Canadians access to lower-cost treatment options through its digital platform. But it's also producing concern. Fewer barriers could mean more people abusing the drug.
I think my real worry is that if you start getting into a situation where online clinics are handing out these prescriptions willy-nilly to anybody who pays their, $50 processing fee.
2 years ago, a Canadian law firm launched a proposed class action lawsuit alleging the drug's manufacturer didn't warn about its severe side effects, including serious gastrointestinal issues like stomach paralysis.
We've received thousands of contacts of different users of Ozempic experiencing these types of adverse events.
Patricia Miller, part of that class action, no longer on the drug, but she says she's still facing the side effects.
I can't eat, like I can only have liquid foods.
And Ozempic's manufacturer, Novo Nordisk, tells CTV News it stands behind the safety and efficacy of all of its medicines. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
Still to come, hospitality workers at the CN Tower have ratified a new deal with their employer. We'll have more on the details when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
TikTok CEO is asking Canada's industry minister for an urgent meeting about Ottawa's order directing the company to shut down its Canadian operations. In a letter obtained by the Canadian press, TikTok Shu Chu wrote to Mélanie Joly on July 2nd, asking for an in-person meeting within 2 weeks. It came after an order from Ottawa in November that TikTok dissolve its Canadian business following a national security review of its Chinese parent company ByteDance. However, the app itself would remain available to Canadians. Chu argues that order was made when it appeared the U.S. would ban TikTok. However, U.S. President Donald Trump extended that deadline last month.
Hospitality workers at the CN Tower have voted to ratify a tentative agreement with their employer, ending a labor dispute which lasted nearly 2 weeks. The agreement was reached Sunday with Canada Lands Company. Now, the Crown Corporation, which owns and operates the CN Tower, Unifor represents more than 250 hospitality workers, including hosts, waitstaff, bartenders, chefs, cooks, and butchers. The union says the 3-year deal includes significant wage improvements. Restaurant operations at the CN Tower are expected to resume tomorrow.
Uber is launching a new account for seniors. The company says it's aimed at making getting around easier and more accessible for older adults. Uber says the senior account includes larger text and fewer buttons. It also allows people to easily store frequent destinations. The new account is being rolled out today across the country.
Shania Twain's country music tour is rolling across Canada, and the singer's bringing more than just her songs.
Her foundation is supporting food banks along the way, helping people struggling to feed themselves and their families. Twain's most recent stop was in PEI. CTV's Maria Saru reports.
This is amazing. Before the spotlight and the hit songs came a quiet handoff. Shania Twain delivered a $25,000 check to a food bank in Western PEI, a boost from one of country music's biggest names to a small organization serving rural communities.
I was in disbelief. This donation is going to provide a lot of healthy options for our families that we feed.
In Tyne Valley, one of 4 locations the West Prince Caring Cupboard serves, the need is growing.
We are starting to feel the effects of rising prices, and everything is getting more expensive, and unfortunately wages don't keep up.
Statistics Canada data shows 10 million Canadians are facing food insecurity, including 2.5 million children. The shelves here are stocked with staples, but fresh food is harder to come by.
An average of 160 families rely on the West Prince Caring Cupboard every month, and around 5,000 repeat visitors per year. This donation will help fund healthier groceries so they can take home meat, milk, eggs, and much more.
Director Barb Ramsey-Darash says it can be hard to accept help. Coming to a food bank is often a last resort, but the team makes it a safe and supportive space.
Telling people, well, don't give up. Yes, you might be hitting a rough spot right now, and we'll help you through it. You're doing the right thing. You're getting healthy food for your family.
For the volunteers, many of them fans, the donation hit a high note.
Summer's growing up. I dressed up like Shania Twain and said, man, I feel like a woman. He'd do the karaoke's.
Twain has partnered with Second Harvest on a national campaign to fund 375,000 meals across the country. One of her stops was Calgary, where she was a parade marshal at the Stampede. She also donated in Quebec City and Ottawa, with Toronto next, before her tour heads south. Maria Saru, CTV News, Cavendish, Prince Edward Island.
All right, that big smoke is Toronto. Can you believe that?
The big smoke. Goodness. I feel bad for anybody visiting this city right now because a lot of people on holidays, like, you're not getting the real view right now.
No.
Hopefully this dissipates.
Usually you can see the skyline, although this is looking west, but yeah, I can't see much of the west end of the GTA right now either. So this is the big story for today. Air quality is quite poor. We are no longer rated number 2 as far as the worst air quality for cities in the world. We're at about 6 now, but it's still not great. So we are under an air quality warning in the GTA, along with a heat warning. This has been in place for days, and it will continue to be locked in place. So just a reminder that there are things you can do today to keep yourself cool, to keep yourself hydrated. Maybe visit a shopping mall or a library. If you don't have access to air conditioning, you'll find some there. Overnight tonight, we drop to a low near 20 degrees. It's still going to feel like 25. And then tomorrow, not quite as oppressively humid as today, but still hot. 32 is our forecast high with a mix of sun and cloud and, well, yeah, some sunny haze for the most part. Let's talk about Wednesday. We're going to see an increase in cloud cover, chance of a few showers, still hot at 32 degrees. Thursday is when things change a little further. I anticipate some thunderstorms creeping their way into our forecast. And then we're going to cool down into Friday and Saturday. Much more seasonal, more comfortable highs of 26 degrees for both Friday and Saturday. Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.